before we get disconnected. Hello and welcome to Women Speakers Association's WSA TV. I'm Laura Rubenstein, your host, producer, and digital media and marketing strategist here from San Diego with you. I am super excited because today's topic is all about leading family and workplace transitions. And we've got two experts in the house. I'm ready to share with you their wisdom. They are here. So let's uh, go ahead and introduce them to you. So hi, Cathy.
Hi, Laura. I'm Cathy Sikorski. I live near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. My website is cathysikorski.com. Couldn't be much easier than that. And I'm the author of this wonderful book, Who Moved My Teeth? Preparing for Caregiving, Aging, and Loved Ones.
Lovely. So glad to have you. And hi, Anella.
Hi, Laura. I'm coming to you from Houston, Texas. I'm an author, speaker, and a coach. And I've got a #1 best-selling book, Dare to Be the Change, available on Amazon. You can find me on www.anellametoyer.com.
Wonderful. So glad to have both of you here today because I know both of you work in the area of transitions. And Cathy, you work with families and caregiving, and Anella, you work with executives and managers. So in the workplace, this is huge work to do. And today, so I thought we'd talk about these transitions and what advice you have for leading personally through them. How can we navigate them? So Cathy, I thought you could give us some advice on the family transition. What do you recommend where people do? What should they do?
That is the burning question. They always want to know, where do I go? What do I do? Because often these are working women. These are not people who are just hanging around waiting to be caregivers, right? So there's 3 things they should do right away. They should get a power of attorney. They should check their own will and the will of the person they're caring for. And they should also get a living will or an advance directive for the person that they're caring for. But the 3+1 that we have here is they need to do those 3 things, plus they need to do it with the advice of an elder attorney. It's wonderful to think you can get everything from a download online, but trust me, you really need to get the expertise in this field because it's complex and it can cause a lot of heartache if you don't do it the right way the first time. Well, that's
so don't use those very quick fixes online. Get the advice of a professional.
Please.
And where would people go to look for this professional, this elder attorney?
So literally, we are called elder lawyers, and do not confuse that with estate lawyers, who are wonderful lawyers, but they don't do the same thing. And there are certified elder lawyers, CELA. So you can look for a certified elder lawyer through your bar association, or quite frankly, just if you type CELA in my area, you will probably find a certified elder lawyer. And of course, I'm going to say that in my book, you're going to get all the tips you need to ask those lawyers the right questions, because you really don't know this area. It's new to you, quite likely.
Right. And so this is particularly useful for women who are, in the workplace. How can they be most effective and still maintain their own life, but still care for, would you say?
Exactly, because they're caring for 2 people here. They're caring for their loved one and they're caring for themselves. And that is often the part that's missed. And so not only do they need legal and financial assistance, but they need a practical guide. And because I myself have been a caregiver for 7 different family members and friends over the last 30 years, in addition to being an elder lawyer, I understand where they're coming from. My whole journey started out because my 92-year-old grandmother came to live with me, my husband, my dog, and my 2-year-old. And my mission was really not to kill them and to keep them alive. Because let me assure you, 92 and 2, when they get together, your life is going to be a whole new world that you didn't expect. And so you really need a support system, both legally, financially, and practically, which is why I love to then engage professional women.
And the 3 documents you mentioned, why are they so important? What are they? I mean, I know you told us what they are, but why are they so important?
So a power of attorney is a document. Here's the 30-second definition. It is the document where you sign giving the power to someone who is now your agent, and they can act as if they are you in any capacity. So a financial power of attorney would give them financial power to do all of those things that you do. And a healthcare power of attorney would be to talk to your doctors, your hospitals, etc. So that's a critically important document because it's for live people who are disabled either temporarily or permanently and need your help. And without that document, you can't do anything for them. Critical.
Yeah. So it's a power of attorney not for the caregiver, but for the person being cared for.
It is so true, yes. But I always say to the caregiver, do you have one? Because do you know if something can happen to you? You don't. Be prepared. We all need to be prepared because you're going to be dealing with uncomfortable, uninformed, and difficult people. And that's just the medical community. That's not even your own person. So you need to have that document. The living will is basically what happens if you get into a permanent vegetative state, a pull the plug or not pull the plug document. That's really what we call it. And then finally, a will. It's just that a lot of us, especially our age, have wills. We made them out when our kids were 2 and 4. We shoved it in the underwear drawer, never looked at it again. And now our kids are 32 and 34 and nobody has changed anything. Life changes. Pull your will out from the underwear drawer, dust it off, and go get a new one that fits your needs.
Great. Thank you. Feeling way more prepared now that, for the caregiving stage and navigating that transition. That's wisdom that you guys, everyone, if this is something you haven't considered, consider it. It's well worth it. So Anella, I know you focus in on workplace transitions and supporting people through that. Now, what would be really bizarre, and I'm sure it's not actually that far off, is if somebody's actually going through a caregiving situation and a workplace transition. Well, at least now Cathy's got us set up for the personal side. Now, what do we do? What advice do you have, Anella, for the workplace transitions?
The workplace transition has so many different phases. It's similar to what Cathy also alluded to. But you go through whether it's anxiety, guilt, depression, and then finally you get to the acceptance. I always start with the conversation, take care of yourself first. Do something that you absolutely enjoy in this particular time of transition. Secondly, I always say disconnect before you reconnect. And the reason to disconnect, because so many emotions are coming at you that it's time to really focus on you. So disconnect first before you reconnect with the world. Take some time off. And the third thing is, as you're disconnecting, think about the key sources of support. First and foremost, it may be your family, it may be a friend, but focus on that foundation so that you can tap back into your power, your own power of strength, because of all the different phases that you will go through during the transition. And for everyone, it is different.
Yes, and everyone needs to know they don't need to do this alone.
Absolutely. You've got someone that's out there that you can tap back into that power to give you that strength. For me, it was my awesome husband, my family, and a very close friend.
And if people are feeling really desperate and they don't have anywhere to go, what would you recommend they do?
Seek out a professional, someone that has some expertise in transition. It might be a close individual that has coached you through the years. It may be someone that has a medical background. And so find someone that you are comfortable with.
That's the key, to feel safe and to feel comfortable, and someone who can mentor you. Look for a mentor. I notice that it's always wise that you pointed to something really, really key. If you're comfortable with that person, if it feels right for you, I love the idea of like friends and family supporting us, but sometimes they're not the right support. Would you agree?
Absolutely. So again, it's got to be somebody that you can feel comfortable with, because the emotions will take you down a journey that you may be surprised in some of the phases that you will go through transition. I know that because I went through a really tough transition. I had worked in the banking arena for 40 years. And then one day I was put in a space of a reorganization within the company, and I wasn't ready for it. And of course, being in the corporate world for so many years, I always said, I'm ready for this. I can face anything. Wow, was I ever surprised of the different phases that I went through. Hence why I coach a lot of individuals through a transition in the workplace, because it was so hard for me. This was life-changing, because I did not understand who I was, because I'd been a banker. Everyone always said, when Anella leaves this earth, on her tombstone, it's going to say she was a banker. And I had to find out that I was more than just a banker.
So when somebody has to find out that they're more than what their career is, where do you recommend they go to disconnect?
For everyone, it is different where you can disconnect, but find that favorite space that you feel comfortable and safe in. For me, my husband said, let's take a trip, because your best friend is the person that you have a comfort with, that you can say almost anything to this individual. So we hopped on a plane, went to Denver, Colorado, and I spent the week with my best friend, Russ, and my husband. And I just had a space that I could just be myself and let go of the emotions that I was feeling at the time.
Yeah, so it's what both of you said. I know, Cathy, you even said it about, it's taking the time to nurture yourself is really key in any transition. And even when you're caretaking other people, you got to take care of yourself first. So thank you for the reminders and the rich wisdom, the deeper dive into that. And thank you, Gail and Melissa, for joining us and online. And we welcome your questions and comments, and they're highlighting your great wisdom as well, Anella and Cathy. So let's dive a little bit deeper into your expertise. Cathy, tell us a little bit more about who you work with and what you love doing with them.
I obviously work with caregivers, but what people are often surprised is that I work often with women in the financial and insurance services, because these women are often marketing women to get them prepared for retirement and death. That's usually the theme for those things. But the problem is there's that tsunami of caregiving in between that people often forget about. And so I like to help women in the profession of finances and insurance to help their clients understand there's a place they can prepare for as well, both financially and practically. And it's kind of a good marriage, because not only are these women often caregivers themselves, because quite frankly, 80% of caregivers are in fact women. So they understand, as the financial advisor and the planner, that they need to help these women get through this phase, both financially and practically. And they don't often understand, the financial advisor, exactly how the system works. How does the system work when your loved one gets into the nursing home situation or a Medicaid situation? And so I educate them so that they can then teach their clients and encourage them to prepare appropriately, because there's a big gap between retirement and death.
Big gap between retirement and death. That's big, and becoming bigger with today's healthcare, it seems like. And you teaming up with financial advisors to be a power team for families is a really special offering that you can offer, and that the financial advisors can offer, and also educating financial advisor on your process too. And it also has to do with their wealth management too. So
Exactly. And Anella's concept is exactly the same. These are all women in transition, even if they're still in the same job. This caregiving life is a transition within what they're already doing. And I love everything she said about seeking out your support system, knowing when to take care of yourself, because you could still be in the same job you've been in. You could be that banker for 30 years, but you're not taking care of your mother or a granddaughter or a disabled spouse, and you are in transition, just like she described. So she has actually a coaching concept that certainly could pervade people who are literally not changing jobs, but having a major change in their life. I love that. 2 thumbs up, Anella.
So we just have now a triple play here that you just alluded to, Cathy, of a transition coach, an executive coach like Anella. And Anella, I want you to get into what you do in just a half a second. And, the elder attorney and then the financial advisor. So power team.
Exactly.
Financial advisor on the call here too. So Anella, tell us about your expertise and, who do you work with? What do you do with them? A little bit deeper dive.
So Laura, I have, as I mentioned earlier, I have been in the corporate world for over 40 years. So I've had the pleasure of coaching individuals from the executive level all the way to an entry level individual. But I specialize in enhancing executives that want their leadership skills to level up so they can dare to be the change within their organization. The second focus that I have is transition, and it came from my own transition. And it has been just really interesting because most of the individuals that I have been coaching has been executive women who have hit a 59 and a half age limit, which I'm still doing some research on this because it appears that that is the moment that transition seems to happen more so for many executive women.
That's wild that age just like magically happens for, at least in the anecdotal evidence you have for your clientele. But yes, transitioning is delicate and it requires some expertise, and that's what you do in terms of that. Is there anything more about your journey to becoming a coach in this transition that you want to share, like your story?
Thank you for asking that, Laura, and thank you, Cathy, for thumbs up on what we're doing, what we're both doing. We need to partner up. You and I need to partner up after this call. So my journey is really to continue to pay this forward. Anytime someone is going through a transition, especially in the workplace, I want to be there to help them go through the lessons that I learned through my own transition. Because one of the main lessons that I learned is that your friends don't call. And so you say, your friends don't call. Well, your friends don't call because A, they don't know what to say to you, or they are in a space that you're not an executive at a level. So what should the conversation be? Because you're no longer at the company. So I've taken the lessons that I've learned, and I'm currently writing my next book, and it's called Transition in the Workplace. Now what? From the lessons that I learned through my own transition.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. And Cathy, was there any part of your story you wanted to add in about how you became to work with caregivers?
I only became the person who works with caregivers because I am a caregiver. And let me just tell you, it involves undignified situations, uncomfortable conversations, financial difficulties, and sometimes nudity. So you better be prepared because you never know what's coming at you. So I'm just saying, I deal with aging and everybody thinks they're not aging. But if you're seeing me today, you're one step closer to me than you were yesterday, because it's coming for you in a good way. If you're prepared, it's all good. And I think that 59 and a half number might be magic, because that's when you can start taking out of your IRA. What do you think about that, Anella? It's like, ooh, wait a minute, I have some financial reserves that I can tap into to change my life.
Might be the unification of, okay, what's in the back of their mind, like, hey, I really do want to retire, coming
Right.
forth and knowing that there's this access to finances without penalty of those savings. So, and Gail Watson saying she wishes she knew all of this when she was a caregiver. So thank you, Cathy. You're really forging the way for people who are not in the know. There's so many people not in the know, like Gail was. So thanks, Gail, for that. And all right, we're going to be wrapping up with one last question here. I want to know, this is what we do at Women Speakers Association. We bring valuable resources to you. To help you in your transitions, to help you grow, to help you move into the next level of speaker you want to be. So I'd like to hear from each of you about your experience with Women Speakers Association, the value you're already receiving. So Anella, why don't you go?
So I will tell you the first and foremost is the networking, because I got to meet great folks like you, Laura, and great folks like Cathy. So connecting and helping each other out ties in with what I've always wanted to do, is pay it forward. The second thing is all the learning that you all provide. I am an individual, my personality feeds off of continuing learning. And so being a speaker, you all have really enhanced that journey of being a speaker. So I really appreciate all the webinars, all the connections that you all are doing. And I would definitely ask anyone who's listening to this, if you know someone, tap them on the shoulder, ask them to please join WSA, because it has been extremely fruitful in my journey as a speaker.
Oh, great. We love hearing that, because it's really about the connections, the collaboration, the resources, and, catapulting you to your next level. And by the way, if anybody is considering and you want to tap them on the shoulder, love that analogy and that idea, go to joinwsa.com and you can see the free level of membership we have for you, the associate, or the premier, like both Cathy and Anella have done, upgrade so they can have more visibility through our organization and more access to resources and networking. So Cathy, tell us about the value that Women Speakers Association is for you.
Oh, it's amazing. When I was in very short period of time, someone actually contacted me and said, I do a weekly radio program. My guest just told me they can't come. Can you be ready in 2 hours? And I said, you bet I can. And that woman has actually become my friend. She physically lives close to me, which was crazy. And we became friends, and I've been on her radio program many, many times. It's just been a joy to work with her. But not only that, the resources that you provide, much like Anella said, are invaluable. And I continue to find on a regular basis, oh my goodness, I didn't tap into that. I didn't know about that. Gail and I had a conversation a few weeks ago. I got onto the review your profile with the group last month. It was wonderful. It just continues to give me resources to be a better speaker. And today I met Anella. So, it's just wonderful. The Facebook page is great. I'm constantly seeing women that I want to connect with, who we could work together. It's just every woman who's a speaker should be in this organization without a doubt.
Yeah, and it's for, like you said, it's women who use speaking in their business, and the collaborations and the connection with Gail, and Gail's giving us all kinds of hearts. So thank you, Gail, for being here. And we want to do this. This is what we do. The women are telling you that's what we do, and we're constantly bringing in more value. So stay tuned for more. We'll be back next week with another episode of Women Speakers Association's WSA TV premiere show. Thank you again, Anella and Cathy. Bye for now, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, Laura. Thanks, Anella.